Hey, what's up? It's Jason. I'm back with another video, and I'm just playing a little bit of punk rock in the background. That is because I'm going to do sort of part two of what I was planning here with compilations. Yeah, the other day I showed my metal compilations in honor of Metal Marty Mac over in Ireland, and he was showing some killer comps as well. I decided I'm going to split this up. I'm going to show my metal ones first, and now I'm going to do the punk ones. So let's get into this. I got quite a stack of punk OGs and reissues compilations over the years, including some movie soundtracks as well that I've thrown in here in the bunch. So I'll just jump into some of these right now, including what I was playing in the background. Something to Believe In compilation. This is one from my youth for sure. I used to have this when I was little, and still love it to this day. It's a really kind of a cool comp between US and Canadian bands, bringing them together, which is someday we'll be back together as well, despite all this back and forth these days of barbs, etc., going across the border. Here you got classic punk bands. 7 Seconds, Big Boys is on here, Nils, DOA, SNFU from Canada, Young Lions, Channel 3, Rigor Mortis, Youth Brigade out of California. It's kind of got the provinces and state flags on the back. Put out by the Better Youth Organization, sort of cross-border hardcore punk group located out of LA. And yeah, it's got a whole bunch of right up on the background, but basically something to believe in yourself, I guess. Trying to preach some positivity going on with this hardcore punk compilation. So kicking off with this one. This came out in '84, long ago, and I had a copy of it on vinyl. I lost the copy, and then I regained it again through the magic of Discogs. Here's one that I never owned when I was a kid, but same kind of era. Some really cool hardcore punk here in 1984. This is a French compilation, I believe. Yeah. Lots of cool bands on this one that I've never ever heard of before. Panic with a K, RAS, Les Cadavres, Angry Rats, Abject, Subkids, Hemet. Got this a few years back. It's a double. Is it a double? No, it's a single. It's just really heavy. It's heavy also because it's got this booklet inside. Let's just check this out. The First Sonic World War, 1984. There we go. This is the killer booklet here, with lots of black and white collage style. For each band, I think, gets a page. Yeah, so some cool French punk from the 80s. Excellent compilation. I don't play it enough. I should play it even more, but kind of got it for my DJ sets, and it works just fine like that. Next up, we have another legendary one from the 80s. This is also a movie, and one of the first places I saw punk in action, because I was pretty young in the early to mid 80s. Would have been not possible to go to any of these punk concerts or gigs back in the day as I was preteen. But this movie definitely rocked our world. We saw clips of this one and another movie soundtrack I'm going to show later. This is a documentary actually on UK hardcore, UK DK. I remember getting this on VHS, and I wonder if we got it out of the library even. I don't know how we found it, or maybe at a local record shop. Anyway, this is the original video soundtrack, and one of the first places I ever heard of Exploited, because they're on here. The Addicts, Chaos UK, The Business, Vibrators, Action Pack, The Damned is even on here, kicking off side 2 with Ignite, Vice Squad, Angelic Upstarts, Verukers. Yeah, lots of great stuff on this. This is a classic comp. And it's my Canadian pressing, distributed by the Mighty Fringe product out of Toronto. So they would distro a lot of cool 80s hardcore and punk and metal crossover stuff like Dayglow Abortions and DRI and COC, all that. I got all that stuff through Fringe Product. Here's another movie soundtrack that I had kind of forgotten about. Forgot that this was so punk related. Return of the Living Dead. This is a recent reissue that came out not long ago, 2015, on Real Gone Music. Put this out. You got some classic U.S. bands on here. Um, Tall Boys, Flesh Eaters, TSOL, 45 Grave, The Cramps, Rocky Erickson's the only Rocky Erickson I have. And I want to do some more investigating, get some more Rocky Erickson. Just thinking about that. But also The Damned is on here too from the UK, and SSQ. So really cool comp. Unfortunately, one of these kind of splatter color vinyl. I'd like to get a black vinyl maybe for this one, but it still plays pretty good. So there you go. Splatter edition for Halloween. I feel like that was like a record store day release maybe. Next up, The Dance Craze. Got some ska here. I don't have a lot of ska or reggae for that matter in my collection. Just a couple of albums like The Specials and Madness who are on here. The Selector also, Bad Manners. This has got some great tracks, including my favorite Specials track, Concrete Jungle. Also, The Beat with Mirror in the Bathroom is on this. Yeah, a bunch of hits. Man at the CNA by The Specials as well. I feel like a lot of this is like live. It is live. Yeah, okay, bottom. The best of British ska live. So there you go. So it's sometimes one of the few downers to a comp. If it's live, it doesn't always fit well in my DJ sets because of live sounds, etc. Anyway, 1981 UK comp on two-tone ska label. Next up, one that I found in the wild not long ago, maybe a couple years ago, it looks like. Promo copy, got a promo stamp on the back. This is Slash Records out of LA. Famous label, punk, but also hard rock, metal, new wave. This one has got Violent Femmes on here with Blister in the Sun. X is on here with Los Angeles, Fear, Germs, Dream Syndicate. 2 tracks by X. Gun Club is also on here, and the Blasters. Really solid lineup. I recommend, if you see this, pick it up. This is the early sessions of Slash Records. A nice score for sure. With that kind of lineup, I mean, that is can't be beat. Here's a lineup of bands I've never heard of before until now, but I know our buddy Tommy probably is very familiar with all these Finnish hardcore bands. It's one of the Bloodlines series, basically kind of bootleg series of comps. Bloodlines across Finland in this case. They kind of do different countries, different regions, etc. So yeah, I'm not going to embarrass myself trying to pronounce half of these bands, although there are a few of them that are written in English. So you got Hellhound and Problems with a question mark. Briard, Razzia, Vavi. Look at me, embarrassing myself already. Loose Prick is on here as well. So there's lots of bands jammed in there, really. Ranging from the 70s, it's all late 70s, from 77 to 79. So there you go. Finnish punk from 77 to 79. How can you pass that up? Well, next up, should we get into the soul jazz records yet? Maybe not. Maybe not yet. Get one more. And did I bring up the OG of this one? Okay, this next one I've got doubles of now because I've got not the original version, but an older version of this one. This is the reissue here, Punk and Disorderly, Riot City. This was put out on Puke and Vomit Records out of the States. Pretty solid version. And then I recently scored this one in Japan, which I've got to redo my whole Tokyo video. That's another long story. Punk and Disorderly, here you go, the OG, or an older version on red vinyl. I think like a 90s pressing in this one on Abstract Records. So Vice Squads, The Addicts, UKDK, Blitz, Dead Kennedys is on here. It's not just UK bands. But then, yeah, we've got Chaos UK, GBH, Race Against Time, the Partisans. Excellent comp. Worth having doubles of. I don't know. I might pass on the reissue at some point, but I've kind of grown to enjoy the reissue quite a bit. All right, let's get into a couple of movie soundtracks, and this is a reissue that's kind of a bootleg as well. I think European bootlegs, so I think they can get away with it. I'd love to get the OG of this, but it always sells for like $100, at least around these parts. Suburbia. This is the other movie that I was referencing earlier that got us totally hooked on punk back in the day. I mean, as a little kid, I just started off into metal, loving, like Def Leppard, Motorhead, Motley Crue, Ozzy, and then slowly we discovered some hardcore and some punk. Getting the DRI tapes and watching video dubs of Suburbia over and over again. This, of course, features TSOL, DI, and the Vandals. And even as a kid, actually, in junior high school, I made my own Vandals t-shirt at one point because it was impossible to get a t-shirt like that. I don't even know. Definitely not in Canada anyway. So I got like one of those like paste-on ink that was washable. I made a Vandals t-shirt. Yeah, huge fan of this movie. It's actually the first movie by Penelope Spheres, who went on to do some pretty big comedies, etc. B-side is all basically Alex Gibson, so it's kind of like the score of the movie. It's actually pretty good too. But yeah, I'd still like to get an OG of this. It's just kind of black labels. I don't even know what the name of the label is that put it out, but like I said, it's more of a boot. Survival Research, 2024 release, originally 1984. Suburbia, and of course the other movie that has to be mentioned in terms of punk, a classic soundtrack. This is one that I did get the OG of, and I paid a pretty penny for this one. Repo Man. Paid a little too much probably for this thing, looking like $80 on the back, but it is in very good shape, and doesn't come up that often. But yeah, if I waited longer, I could have hunted down a slightly cheaper version of this thing. But anyway, Fears on here, Circle Jerks, The Plugs, Suicidal Tendencies, Black Flag, Iggy Pop, Burning Sensations. I mean, if you haven't seen this movie too, do yourself a favor. It's one of my all-time fave movies. Emilio Estevez playing punk on the streets of LA's repossessing cars, and there's like an alien twist to the whole thing too. So sci-fi punk, urban decay, great movie, killer movie. Now let's get into a bunch of. I'll just do these really quick. These are a bunch of Soul Jazz Records label comps. I don't even have all of them here actually represented, so that kind of sucks. But yeah, I don't know if you guys know about this series, but the Punk 45 series is totally essential and worth the extra money that it's going to cost you because UK imports here. Yeah, so UK label Soul Jazz Records puts out killer comps all the time of multiple genres. They started doing this Punk 45 series, as you can see, rare and out of print 7 inches, 45s over the years, and even classifying them by city. This is Punk in LA from 77 to 81. Play these all the time. I'm a Mess. This is a more recent one, I guess. This was Punk in the UK, 77 to 78. Another really cool one. And like a lot of these tracks and bands I've never even heard, let alone get copies of the original 7 inches. Here's another one, U.S. based, I guess all across the states here. Kill the Hippies, Kill Yourself. This is one of the first ones I think that they put out. Punk 45 series. Punk in the United States of America, Volume 1. So it has Per Ubu on here, The Normals, Zeros, Bizarros. Really like early punk, right? Like late 70s. Johnny Thunder and the Heartbreakers doing Chinese Rocks. The Pagans. Hollywood Squares, Electric Eels. Yeah. Loads of good stuff. Those are just a few. I've got other ones, but they're just strewn about. Another one in here. Yeah, here's two more. I always have them in my DJ box. Burn City Burn one is really good. This is the Ohio one. Decline of the Midwest, 75 to 80. So you got Devo on this thing. Bizarro's, Cheap Pig, The Waitresses, bunch of stuff. Kind of like avant-garde, abstract stuff, proto-punk. Another Ohio one here. This is Extermination Nights in the Sixth City. This is Cleveland, Ohio, punk and the decline in the Midwest, 75 to 82. And this one, Pagans again, Parrot Ubu again. Yeah, loads of cool stuff on here. 7 inches. So Soul Jazz Records puts these out. They put out, like I said, tons of cool comps. Like here's a really good one for the New York no wave scene, New York noise. This one's called. Definitely recommend this. This is one of my faves. A little bit more on the punk funk kind of sound of stuff, you know, with Dinosaur L, which is Arthur Russell, Liquid Liquid, ESG, Bush Tetras, all that New York City stuff. Even a little bit of rap with Ramazelli versus K-Rob. Defunct, there's a punk funk kind of band. Glenn Branca, Material, just weird, you know, funk fusion with noise and punk. This one too. This is an early comp for me for Soul Jazz Records. It's actually number 153 for their label, but DIY. It's one of the first comps I got by Soul Jazz Records that featured a lot of like punk and alternative bands, indie bands. This one's got the Buzzcocks on here and Russ McDonald, Glaxo Babies, Scritti Politti, Throbbing Gristles even on this thing too. So just celebrating independent sounds and noises back in the 80s mostly. So very cool. That one has been reissued. They end up reissuing some of the comps because they definitely sell out. Now, two punk adjacent ones as well. Cold Wave. These ones are pretty cool too. More on the synthy side of the house. Pick those up as well. I just pick up all of them. This one is not on Soul Jazz Records, so we'll move on here. I got a few more left for the video. This one's on a UK label called Strut, and this one was pretty cool pickup. Compilation of Factory music. Oddly enough, not on Factory, but Factory I think is long defunct. But of course, the classic label that had New Order, Joy Division, etc. But this is more obscure stuff. You've got a certain ratio on here. Biting Tongues. Man, what else is on here? Shark Vegas, 52nd Street. Stuff that I don't recognize, but I recognize it if I hear it. But the band names or the artist names, not so much. But yeah, so kind of a dance picks from the Factory catalog. And a nicely done compilation as well, double vinyl. So there's that. That was all from 1980 to 1987. Mixes and rarities. Getting back to stateside now for some hardcore punk. A little 4-band EP here. 4-band compilation. This is really just a comp of 4 7-inch singles from the world famous DC hardcore scene, of course, that spawned Minor Threat and Discord Records and all that. So SOA, which I think SOA has Henry Garfield. Yes, a certain Henry Garfield on vocals, aka Henry Rollins, later on. And the Teen Idols, does Teen Idols have like Ian MacKaye or his brother or something? Definitely this is all like a old school DC hardcore, like I said. Government Issue, Youth Brigade, SOA, and Teen Idols. Man, would love to get those 4 OG 7 inches, but I don't think my bank account could afford it, so I'll settle for that 12-inch version of that. This is a good one from the 90s, I think like maybe 1990. Date on this thing still, but Alternative Tentacles, 92. Alternative Tentacles, Virus 100. So of course their cataloging was always called Virus, I think, and this is the 100th release. Jello Biafra's OG label, still going today. And this is a really cool one. This is all covers of Dead Kennedys songs, done by some very 90s era alt bands as well as hardcore. So you got Alice Donut on here, The Digits, Steel Pole Bathtub doing Chemical Warfare, Neurosis, Napalm Death doing Nazi Punks Fuck Off. Disposable Heroes of Hypocrisies on here, doing California Rallies. Sepultura, doing Drug Me. Kramer, L7, doing Let's Lynch the Landlord. Sister Double Happiness, Mojo Nixon. Yeah, it's chock full. Another must-have comp for sure. I would get this on CD too, just cause. Just cause. No, there's lots of great bands doing lots of great songs. Especially if you're a fan of Dead Kennedys like I am, it's a must. All right, I got like 3 or 4 more to go. This one just recently picked up. Don't have a lot to say about this one other than it's really interesting. Yeah, System Beat. It's more on the post-punk kind of new wave sound, some experimental stuff as well. It was a UK thing. I think it came out with a magazine, if I'm not sure, on the 1 in 12 label from 1984. Yeah, don't know any of these bands whatsoever. The Sinister Cleaners, Son of Sam, Spectre, The Effect, A Witness, System Beat. Played it a few times. Pretty cool. Obscure kind of punk compilation. More recently, picked this up. This is my old hometown, Moncton, New Brunswick, known for the Monoxides and Eric's Trip. They had kind of a nice run in the 90s for grunge, but there's always been punk and weirdo and indie stuff coming out of this Atlantic Coast city, kind of close to Halifax, 3 or 4 hours from Halifax anyway. Hub City, sometimes called. Loads of great shit on here, all spanning many years, I think, but a lot of more recent stuff, including who would be well known. Well, Nerve Button is pretty big out there, and also Phone Jerks is on here. It's kind of doing sort of garagey punk. The Robins, of course, Mark Edit's old punk band with pre Eric's Trip, much pre Eric's Trip. This is on Nim Records, which is a essential punk label from the East Coast for that kind of stuff. Moving a little bit more westward from Moncton, still in eastern Canada, is of course the province of Quebec, the Belle Province, and Montreal. This is a really cool comp of old school Quebecois stuff, post-punk and new wave bands coming out of the 70s, 79 to 87, so it's a good span. This one's called Gnome Name? Noma, I think? Yeah, Gnome Noma. They done a second part to this comp as well, which I got to pick up. But yeah, again, these are more obscure bands I've never heard of from that era. The Plugs, the Wipers, Pop Stress, mix of English and French songs, new wave, post-punk, really good stuff. Good comp. I think it came with a booklet as well. This one's kind of famous. You see this a lot, but you don't always see the picture disc version. But this one's called No Wave. It's actually a comp of new wave, as opposed to the actual no wave scene in New York. This is, like I said, more on the new wave tip. So you got the Police, UK Squeeze, Clark Kent, Joe Jackson's on here, the Dickies, the Stranglers. There's about 2 tracks from each. The backside is a pizza. This is one of my favorite comps. One of the last ones I'll show. US compilation, God's Favorite Dog. This is Touch and Go Records. Man, essential label of the 80s for pre-alt, pre-grunge, post-punk, noise rock. We're talking Butthole Surfers, Killdozer, Scratch Acid, Big Black, Happy Flowers, and Hose. And those are all the bands that are on this compilation. Those are totally essential bands from my heyday. Love this comp. It's really good. Hose is actually New York City based project band with Rick Rubin. So that's an interesting tidbit. But yeah, Touch and Go was a Chicago zine originally, and then it became the label, focusing on 80s noise rock, some sludge, avant-garde stuff like Butthole Surfers. Really cool comp. I got this comp gifted to me as a VCLT from Uncommon Pallor a little while back. This is pretty cool. This is some Toronto-based stuff. Oxford and Adelaide is intersection in Toronto. Again, a lot of bands I don't know on that one. And very last, one I'll show is AK-79. I've shown this a couple times now in the VC and various contests and tags, etc. This is all New Zealand bands. New Zealand punk from the late 70s, as you might gather. There they are. Again, mostly bands I've never heard of. But really good comp. So, I mean, that's part of the fun of compilations. You get to discover lots of new music and new bands that you may never have heard of and that may no longer exist or pretty obscure under the radar. So that's kind of a smidge of all my punk compilations. Probably have a few more laying about, but that's it for now. See you guys soon.